There we are. Time now 6:16, and we have board member Travis Bowman, Pam Baker, and did somebody say it? Jeff Stengler?
I don't think it was Jeff.
Oh.
I think it was Gary I saw.
Oh, is Gary on?
Yep.
Oh, Gary Michael, yep. Okay, so those 3 board members are present. Travis and myself are in person at the boardroom, and Gary is remote. And due to the pandemic, we are allowed to meet remotely. There will be no visitor comments during this time, but we will call the meeting to order. The agenda was sent out via board books. And that's new this month, board book premiere. So is there a motion to approve the agenda? I'll second it. So Travis Bowman made the motion, Pam Baker seconded to approve the agenda as presented for today's study session. Is there any discussion? Okay, then all those in favor say, or excuse me, I'm sorry, roll call vote. Travis?
Aye.
Gary?
Aye.
And Pam, yes. By roll call vote, 3 yes, motion carries. Technically, we need to appoint a clerk for the meeting. Travis, would you be willing to adopt the notes?
Yes.
Thank you, Travis.
Hey, Joel,
All right.
can we have a meeting without a majority, or what's the deal?
Because it's a study session, we are able to have a meeting.
Okay, thanks.
No action is being taken, so you're okay.
Okay, first item up on the agenda is to talk about the building project. First of all, I'll just say Travis and I just did a walkthrough of the renovations. I think everything looks really fantastic. You know, Joel, I'm probably stealing his thunder here, but commented that, knock on wood, so far our contingency funds are looking good. A little bit over 1.1 million remain in those funds. We started with about 1.4 in those contingency funds. And time frame, we are a little bit ahead of schedule as far as time frame goes. But it was really neat to go through the elementary wings and see the progress that is occurring. And it was also fun for him to tell us how many alumni from Waterville are working on the project. So, Travis, did you want to add anything from the tour? And then maybe we'll have Joel fill everybody in.
Yeah, they're doing a tremendous amount of work. Unless you come walk through the building, you really don't realize the scope of all the work that's going on. So obviously the building project managers are doing a good job from what Joel has been telling me and from what I see. The rooms look nice. I just hope it's pleasing to all the teachers and the students.
Well, that's tough act to follow. Not much more. I think really we're also working this summer to set the stage for next summer. So today they set the staging area to remove the remainder of the asbestos in the 3rd floor science labs in Waterville. So come next summer, they can start right in on the construction there. They don't have to wait for that to be abated. Otherwise, yeah, we still meet every other week with the construction managers. Everything seems to be going well. Everybody seems to be happy, and it's been an interesting, fun project, and I'm really excited how it's going to be for our kids when we get to bring them back.
I just wanted to say, sorry I couldn't be there today in person.
Jennifer or Bobby have anything they'd like to add at all about the project, or?
I can unmute
Gary, are you
myself.
saying something?
It's looking great. It's exciting. It's fun. Every day something different is happening. We're just having a lot of fun watching it happen.
Great.
My comment would just be how professional the construction crews have been and how accommodating to everything. Whether they are, working a shovel or a piece of equipment or Mark, construction manager, it's all been very professionally done, and they're seemingly very forthcoming with any changes that are going to happen, and give us space as needed. And they've just been a lot of fun to have around. They're lighthearted at the same time, even though they get right at work, and they are serious about what they're doing.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm muted. Thank you for your input. Again, it is a very exciting time for our district. All right, next up on the agenda would be to talk about fall.
Okay, I can tell you, I know about as much as I did 2 weeks ago. Nothing much has changed. We're still to have 3 plans ready to go for the start of the school year. One of them being school pretty much as what it normally is. The second one is a hybrid model where students are in the building a little bit of the time, and that's up to each district to determine, and the other days are distance learning. With that being said, the days that they're in the building, we can only run at 50% of occupancy, and we have to social distance 6 feet apart. And then the last one is if we did distance learning. We've done the distance learning, so we know how to run it, make some changes and revise it. So there, and we obviously know how to do when we bring people in. This blended model is difficult. For example, I counted with transportation for one. We can only fit 24 students on a bus. How are we going to bus all of our students in with 24 at a time? How are we going to shuttle them back and forth? There has been some discussion that maybe they might loosen the guidelines on busing, but I haven't seen anything formal yet, but that's just kind of the rumor that's out there. And also I've been going through, we had to calculate the square footage of all the rooms so we knew what the occupancy was. So you get the square footage, you divide it by 36 for the 6 foot, 6 times 6 for 36 square feet per student. And then they have to take half of that to get 50%. So really, if I take like one of our elementary classrooms, for example, in Waterville, we can only have maybe 13 to 14 people, adults and students in there. So when we have class sizes of 22, 23, how are we going to do that? You have got one teacher, so you have 12 students come in one day and then the other 12 the next day. And then what do you do with the students that you had the first day that are doing distance learning on the second day, and how do you provide distance learning on the second day when the teacher's in front of the other half of the students that are there? So those are some things that we're looking at. We're trying to figure out, we might have to look at some staggered start times. You have the same thing if we do the busing and everybody's showing up, we have to take temperatures for everyone, staff and students, or some type of waiver. How are we going to do that without everybody conglomerating and staying social distancing for 6 feet apart to get them all in the building? It's just a whole host of things that we need to think about going forward and how to make that work. So that one is going to take some serious amount of time. We do have a meeting set up with the teachers on July 15th. They were going to share some input on some ideas and some things going forward. We'd like to have them involved, as get their input, and we go forward because they're on the front lines and what some things we need to do. So that's and the other piece, there was a rumor out there that the governor was going to announce on July 15th what the fall learning was going to be like. I had a superintendent conference call statewide today, and they said, no, that's not true. It'll be July 27th. If they have anything sooner, we will know, but right now it's still July 27th. So, like I said, in a nutshell, we're still responsible for those 3 plans. We've been working hard on putting it together. I think part of the main problem is when they send you guidance, it's 100 pages. So you need to have time to digest 100 pages of material before you can start putting your plans in place. Otherwise, you put something in place and find out it's not right, and you have to start all over. And we fought that enough last round, and we want to make sure we get it right. So That's kind of the update. Summer school has started. We have been running about 40 students in there, one day in, one day distance learning. That seems to be going well. The kids have been coming in. We haven't had much apprehension. Yeah, but otherwise, like I said, we'll be ready to go come fall, whatever it is. I think I mentioned this earlier, and we've talked a little bit about it. Depending on the model, I think we may want to look at staggered start times would be something if we're in the blended version, which I have a feeling is what it's going to be. Staggered start times. We're going to have to look at a whole host of things and how, passing periods, if nothing else, how you're going to do that. Anyway, there'll be a whole host of information to get rolling on, but we'll get it. We always do. It would just be the administrators and stuff for now, just so we get rolling, make sure there's some things, contractually that we're all in agreement on.
Could you talk a little bit about, well, first of all, Dr. Wilson or Bobby Joe, did you want to add anything to what Joel has mentioned?
I think he hit the high point, how difficult it's going to be. I will add about summer school because I've been doing that. The kids are super happy to be here. The students that are here, I've had no one miss. I had one that overslept one day and missed, and then one that had plans today, but everyone that signed up has come willingly and they're happy to be there. It's a lot of training to teach our kids how to social distance. That's going to be a thing in the fall as well. But Joel hit all the high points, all the good stuff. It's going to be tough.
I think coming back, the big thing that I'm thinking about too is that there's going to have to be a lot of review, irregardless of how we start, just because of how the year ended. And just assuring teachers that it's okay to go slow, do review, and to just continue to build those relationships. I think reflecting on our survey results and what we learned from the spring and in that fourth quarter, we can do better in the distance learning category, and that should carry over to the hybrid plans as well. Excited to hear from the teachers next week about some of their ideas coming back. The Pediatric Association came out full support of kids coming back into school just because of the mental health pieces. And so there's lots to consider there. And so in our plans, we're making sure that we have mental health covered as well, because we know that that's going to be a concern for our entire student body as well as our staff. I think there's that piece too, because when we switch from a traditional approach to a distance learning approach to maybe a hybrid, and it can be fluid, and maybe you get only a couple of days notice that you're switching gears. I think we have to take care of our employees as well. So looking at and being cognizant of that and what we can do on our end to support our teachers, our families, and our students as well. So in the last week, Mr. Kaus and Miss Lamont have had kids in the gym, and so it's been really great to see some of our student athletes back and following the guidance and just being present in the buildings, and hoping that they have a chance to shine here in the fall and have kids in the buildings.
Okay. Let's see if I'm not muted. Just making sure I wasn't muted, but I think there was some discussion about the survey. Joel, did you want to touch on what we might be asking in a survey to understand where parents are at? And
I think, Bobby, you're the one who we talked a little bit about it today, what was in there. I think one of the pieces that, what's a comfort level of sending students back? We want to know that. Or do you want to keep them home and do distance learning? Also, piggyback on our previous conversation, are you comfortable putting your child on a bus, or will you be transporting them in? I think that's another part that we need to get a good handle on, so we get some accurate counts when we look at those. So it's more of a, what you need, what you're comfortable with, and if you do come back in, what are the expectations of what we need to make sure that you do feel comfortable.
Yeah, I would piggyback on that and also say a few things about If people have concerns, maybe kind of pinpointing what those concerns are specifically. Is it transportation that's an issue? Is it fear of a virus that's an issue? Things like that, so that we can better serve our student body, kind of understanding where families are coming from. I also, a few questions about the distance learning piece and how prepared people feel. Having done it once, I think when we asked those original questions, people were like, yeah, I've got internet. And then, oh yeah, all I've got internet on is my telephone. And that doesn't really work so well for my students. So I think some of the tech questions might be a little different this time, now knowing what they need to have. So there's a few tech questions as well, just making sure we have people covered and they have access and that sort of thing.
I'd also say that I think there's, we're not in a stay-home order as well. So I think there's potential that even if we're distance learning or we're, mostly distance learning, that staff could come in and teach from their classroom as well. There's that option where maybe they have more resources at their helm too. So that, I think that's something that we can consider as well and work with staff on and get their input too.
I'm just wondering, is there a, say we do come back full-time, will we need to have a liability sheet signed by employees and kids and people who enter the building? Is that something that maybe we should look into? Or, and then my second question is, you said the pediatric support. What group was that you were talking about that supported the kids coming back?
It was the American Association of Pediatrics.
Okay.
Yeah, they came out a couple of days ago.
I'll speak to the liability insurance. As far as I know, there's not, won't be any sign-offs or waivers. I think School Board Association will take the lead on that and provide us what we need to do and point us in the right direction, because every school district is probably asking the same question that you're asking right now. So that would be part of it.
I guess another question is, if say we do come back and there's teachers that are leery, how can we handle that situation if the teachers don't want to come back? I'm just trying to, figure stuff out.
And I'll piggyback off of that. I think the important thing will be is if we're going to survey students and families in terms of how comfortable they feel, that same type of information has to be gathered. And I'm sure we're doing that from the teachers and all staff, so that we're actually prepared to clean our building as we need to clean the building. We don't want any surprises if somebody says they're not comfortable and we don't have a custodian. I would think it's important to let everyone know we care about their feelings and their comfort level with re-entering or being present at the building. I would assume we're going to do some sort of.
And I'm relatively sure that the teachers have done something internally to talk about too, that we'll have to piggyback on that and see if there's some follow-up questions we have going forward.
And I know it doesn't look like maybe we have anything to look at yet today, but I think we did talk about at our last meeting, possibly looking at what the survey results were from the distance learning we did conduct in the spring. So maybe the 27th, we could take a look at that if it's. I think it might be worthwhile after you meet with the teachers on the 15th, which is next week, to possibly look at forming some sort of committee to include a couple teachers. You're obviously the admin team, maybe a board member, community ed, that perspective, just technology, making sure that we're covering the gaps that we need to cover, and letting the school board know how we can support the team that's working hard to make things good for students and families as we go forward in the fall. Just wanting you to know that we're in it together and want to be as supportive as possible. But maybe forming a committee allows us to feel connected and helpful in some way. Because I've even been thinking myself about, do you go to outside spaces? Do you look at utilizing the Elysian building if you can in some capacity, if you need to spread out more? I don't know how much they're using that capacity right now. Is there the village an option where you could somehow have some distance learning? And I know it would be a nightmare in planning in some respects, but it also may allow for more group settings for kids and dealing with the social aspect of it. The transportation thing is tricky. I think we do need to ask how many are expecting or needing transportation to school. I mean, it might be an adaptation of hours that we have to have in order to accommodate parents. I mean, all of a sudden our childcare may need to expand if parents are able to drop off. I don't know, you know.
Can I jump in? I'm just kind of concerned about the transportation also because what the majority of our drivers are elderly. So that's another thing to kind of consider. And they're hard to come by.
So I guess on my point of this is that make sure you realize that the school board is supporting you and that we're all in it together, and hopefully we can be part of the solution in the planning process. Okay, is there any other, Gary, did you have anything to add? Any principals have anything to add? Maybe we lost Gary. Oh no, he's still there.
I think that we kind of, we've talked a little bit internally, but I think one thing that we need to kind of consider as well is the financial impacts that this is going to have. Because I think that we'll probably eventually feel it, maybe not right away, but, and we're not an anomaly. I think, you know, across the state as these plans unfold, especially that hybrid plan, that if we stay in that plan for any too long, considering guidance that's in place right now, transportation in particular, I think that's something that, you know, that's already on the forefront of my head too, is what can we do proactively to make sure that we're being as economically friendly as we can without, you know, sacrificing the education and the welfare of our district.
Yeah,
I
it
would
may be a
say,
4-day-a-week thing,
maybe.
and that gives teachers maybe that 5th day to regroup. I don't know, you know, like.
Mhm.
I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say I wanted to just thank the school board for the support and the offer for the help and things, because it's tough. It's a mammoth task, but we're well on our way.
I don't hear you, Jen.
I don't have a comment.
Oh, I thought I saw her smoking. Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, well, our meeting is July 27th, and I have a feeling that we're going to have a lot to talk about that evening. And so we'll wait for more word from the state of Minnesota, and I look forward to hearing results from hopefully some of our constituents as well. So thank you all for your time tonight. Again, I apologize for our tardiness from the tour. Have a great night. Stay safe and healthy. Oh, yeah, we have to officially adjourn the meeting. Travis is making the motion. Gary, I don't want to leave you out. Do you want to second that? Did you have a thumbs up? Yeah. Okay. He's really can't. Okay. So Travis Bowman made the motion and Gary Michael seconded it to adjourn the meeting. Time now is 6:41. By roll call vote, Travis?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Pam, yes. By roll call vote, 3-0. Motion to adjourn has been approved. Thanks again, everybody.